We only live once, so should we try or indulge in every single passion and desire? Should we restrict ourselves and regiment ourselves until we take our last breath, or should we meet somewhere in the middle? When we look at cannabis use specifically, will it send us to an early grave? Before you say, boo, what I discovered was mind-blowing. Okay, so most people know that weed is the lesser evil of all vices. Most people won't physically die from smoking weed all the time, but it can kill you. And I say kill with bunny ears. First, let's change our view of the term kill or die. Let's take it back to Adam and Eve. And when the serpent told Eve if she ate the fruit, you will surely not die. Now we know when they ate the fruit, they did not immediately drop dead, but did they start a slow death of mankind? Have you ever heard the term saying, you die when you stop living? This phrase is also not referring to an immediate physical death, but rather a slow degeneration in life. Now, what is living? Is living acting on your every impulse, or is it the art of human mastery? Some people might say living life is partying, drinking, smoking, endless sex, and everything else. Some might say living is traveling, eating new foods, embracing all hobbies, meeting interesting people. Some people may have a more simplistic view of what living life is by working a decent job, being a good spouse, owning a home, and raising great children. But can we have a balanced act of it all? The best life is definitely a balancing act. We are not just defined by one or two things, but a cluster of many things. Some may take more priority over the other, but a well-lived life is a combination of many experiences that shape our values. But how do we know what our values are if we don't have a clear mind to organize our life? Now, going back to Mary Jane, I am very aware that many people can smoke weed their whole life and be okay with bunny ears. I even remember somebody commenting on my Odyssey channel saying weed is not a big deal because he has smoked weed his whole life and all his grown children smoke weed as well. Now, I wouldn't personally brag about that, but I would pose the question, have you lived up to your best potential while smoking weed your whole life? And what I have observed from people who have smoked for an eternity, they appear to get through life, but most of them stop growing at a certain age. And when I say their whole life, I really mean somebody who has smoked since their teen years. And research shows that people who started smoking weed in their teen years have a hard time quitting since they were introduced to weed when their brain was still developing. Now, you are not totally out of the clear if you started smoking weed after the age of 25, but you do have a lesser chance of being addicted. But for those who have smoked for 15 to 50 years, their mental development seems to have stopped at a certain age. Now, in our age now, many people are not wanting to accept getting older, so this may seem like a good thing, but it's not cool to be a 50-year-old looking like a 25-year-old. Now, before we get stuck on not physically looking like a 25-year-old or not dressing like one, that does not mean our mental state can be the same as 20 years prior. Now, for example, my mother, who is now in her mid-60s, she has retired from her job that she worked for 25 years. She's been married, she has 2 children, and now on paper, and even if you met her in person, you may say she was an example of somebody who could smoke weed their whole life and be just fine. But I know different. I think her mind stopped maturing somewhere around her late 20s. And I don't know about you, but thank God I don't have the same mind I had at 25. And when I'm 46, I hope I don't have the same mind I had at 36. Not saying we change into different people altogether, but we should mature in how we process emotions, feelings, and finding a deeper understanding of our values. And if you smoke weed your whole life, you prevent yourself from truly growing and getting to the next stage of life. When we smoke weed all the time, we just run the chance of becoming stagnant in life and not embracing change. When we face any kind of anxiety in life, we smoke weed to calm the anxiety, and that just makes us look at all the positives and not pursue any change in our life. And also, we as a human, a big part of learning how to be a successful human is to learn how to control ourselves. So we should master self-control and master our emotions. And if you have smoked weed for a large number of years, I will argue that you have trouble with self-control, not only with weed, but in other areas in your life, including your emotions. It is hard to control if we are always depending on weed to dictate how we feel. Now back to the phrase, you die when you stop living. Ask yourself, are you living? Living is not just going on vacation, having a glass of wine, or getting your master's degree, but also learning how to be a balanced and self-controlled individual. Living requires you and your mind to be aware of your surroundings and yourself. Living requires you to know how to express yourself and analyze your actions. Living requires dedicated concentration, and contrary to your beliefs, we can definitely hinder your concentration on what really matters in life. And if you are not living, you have started a slow death. So take control, and your future self will thank you.